Hi, welcome to the Prisoner History Hub. This video is going to be looking at the origins of Black Power. So where did Black Power start? Where did it begin? So from 1963, a growing number of Black Americans disagreed with the non-violent direct action that the civil rights movement had taken up until that point. A new way to protest started to emerge alongside non-violent action, the Black Power movement. Black Power was a slogan that was used by Black radical groups. These groups had different beliefs and ideas, but most of them believed in these couple of things. So they encouraged Black people to be proud of their heritage and culture. They rejected help from white people and argued that Black people should rely on themselves. They argued against forced integration, saying it would not produce real equality. They were influenced by Malcolm X. There's another video on him if you want more information on Malcolm X. They used militant, so that means in favour of violence, language, and they spoke about revolution. Black Power had the most support among the poor because many groups talked not just about power, but also about a social revolution, so to improve the lives of poor Black people, especially those living in ghettos. Black Power campaigns were focused on local issues and they often achieved results. So during 1965 to 67, there were riots in many cities across the USA. Perhaps the worst was in the Watts district in Los Angeles, so I will do another video as well on the riots, on the Watts riots. The riots saw the deaths of more than 30 people, hundreds of arrests, and millions of dollars worth of damage. The Black Power movement emerged against this backdrop of urban unrest. It was originally a political slogan, but in the late 1960s, it came to cover a wide range of activities that aimed to increase the power of Blacks in American life. So, how did the Black Power movement grow then? What were the reasons behind its growth? So, the first reason is slow progress from the civil rights movement so far. So, non-violent direct action and legislation had gone as far as it could. The Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act did not necessarily solve segregation problems in the Deep South due to attitudes not changing. Many Black Americans felt the price of integration was simply too high. Second reason is pride and self-belief. So Black Power campaigners told Black people to demand equality from white politicians, to be proud of their race and their roots, and to defend themselves and not to accept violence. Third reason is results. So Black Power groups, so for example, the Black Panthers, I'll do another video on them, got results on local issues. For example, they occupied construction sites to force employers to hire more Black workers. There was a shift in protest issues. The Civil Rights and Voting Rights Acts meant that civil rights supporters, so for example, students, protested about other issues such as the Vietnam War. Civil rights campaigners, even King, shifted focus to poverty or employment. And finally, anger at continuing problems. So discrimination in workplaces and education all over the USA continued, and ghetto conditions worsened and were also being ignored. So the March Against Fear. In June 1966, James Meredith, so there's a video on Meredith and who he was, as well, and his kind of earlier involvement in the University of Mississippi issue. He led the March Against Fear through Mississippi, protesting about the violence Black Americans in the South faced. He was shot on the second day. While he was in hospital, King and Stokely Carmichael, I do a video on Carmichael next, led the march. King stressed the need to be non-violent, but Carmichael's speeches were more militant and he urged people to demand Black power. Carmichael swept many people along with his more radical beliefs. Both CORE and SNCC became less welcoming to white supporters. However, they lost a significant number of their original Black members who disagreed with their new radical policies. Carmichael attracted criticism himself because of his aggressive attitude, and he was attacked when he denounced the involvement of the USA in the Vietnam War. He eventually left SNCC and became associated with the Black Panthers. So, Mexico Olympics 1968. Black Power rejected white people. It also scared them because it talked of violent revolution. Many Black Power groups used the symbol of a raised clenched fist. At the 1968 Mexico Olympics, Black Americans Tommie Smith and John Carlos won the gold and bronze medals in the 200-meter race. The US national anthem was played as they were given their medals, and they gave the Black Power salute, as you can see in the picture on the right-hand side. They did so whilst wearing a single black glove. Also, the 400-metre relay team wore black berets. Both articles were part of the uniform of the Black Panther movement. It was a huge shock and a very political act. Smith and Carlos were booed by Americans in the crowd, and some threw things. Some of them even shouted racist abuse at them. Smith and Carlos were suspended from the US Olympic team for doing this. US newspapers condemned them, as did many politicians. They received death threats. However, their action inspired many young people who were turning away from their parents' values and talking of revolution. Young black people in particular found this very public expression of black pride and inspiration to join the Black Power movement, or at least to use its more confrontational tactics. Okay, don't forget to subscribe. Next video is going to be on Stokely Carmichael.